Good morning and welcome to part 3 of 2 Timothy 1:7. We've been talking about earlier this week, and we discussed how Paul is writing to Timothy, and he's writing him a letter encouraging him in his ministry. And he says in verse 6 of chapter 1, he says, fan into flame the gifts that God has given you. Then he goes on to say that God has given us not a spirit of fear or timidity, but a spirit of power and of love. I want to talk about love today. That word love in this verse is, there's several words in Greek for love, but this one is the word that means brotherly love or benevolence, affection, goodwill, that kind of love. And there's a couple other, it's used extensively in the New Testament, but there's a couple of verses as an example where it's used in John chapter 15, 1 in verse 9, where Jesus is talking to the disciples. He says, as the Father has loved me, so have I loved you. Abide in my love. So he tells his disciples to stay in his love or dwell in his love. And then there's another verse in the same chapter, verse 13, greater love hath no man than this, that he would lay down his life for a friend. And so there's a couple of examples of how that's used. So Paul is writing to Timothy, and he says, not only do you have to not be timid or afraid in doing your ministry, but you can do it in boldness through the power of the Holy Spirit. And he says you need to do it in love. Now, how many times have we been in places or come across people, whether it's at work or in a store, wherever we go, and we avoided somebody because we didn't really particularly like them for some reason? I know I've done it, and I can tell you times when I had to stop back and think about it and think that was wrong. And I avoided somebody because for some reason there was something about them that bothered me. When what I should have been doing is going to that person and ministering to them in love, or maybe giving them a kind word, maybe something I said would plant a seed and they would, as a result, want to know more about God, or maybe they would be saved because of that. So we can't just minister to the people we like. Sometimes there are people we don't like. We have to love them and do God's will and be a light to them as well. So go out and in your circle of influence, wherever you are, be a light.